Kimchi is made in large batch in winter, but aside from that, kimchi can be made anytime with any seasonal vegetables and appear in many different forms according to the local climate and preference. The most well-known type of kimchi is Napa cabbage kimchi, also known as Bachu kimchi. It has the shortest history of any kimchi varieties, and yet it is the most dominant type in Korea and around the world. For Koreans, storing kimchi is just as important as making it. Kimchi is a Korean treasure born from the breath of nature and a touch of human. It is a quintessential part of every Korean meal. Kimchi is so powerful that it can give protection against epidemics. Let's take a look at each ingredient. Red pepper powder has anti-carcinogenic and antioxidant effects. Garlic inhibits activities of harmful viruses and strengthens immune system. Ginger has powerful antibacterial effects and prevents lifestyle diseases. The main ingredient, Napa cabbage, also an anti-carcinogen, lowers blood cholesterol level. Delicious and nutritious, Korean kimchi is the full package. It boosts the immune system and helps the body stand up to the stress of everyday life.
In order to make kimchi, we first need certain ingredients: Napa cabbage, garlic, ginger, Korean chili flakes or gochugaru, fish sauce, salt, and sugar. The first step is to mix the salt into water to create a 15% weight-to-weight concentration of salt water. Then soak the chopped Napa cabbage inside. Leave aside for 3 hours. Napa cabbage is the main vegetable that is traditionally used in kimchi making. This is because the natural microflora of the cabbage contains lactic acid bacteria, which is key in the fermentation process. The concentrated salt water is used to kill off pathogenic bacteria, but allow the important lactic acid bacteria to survive as they are resistant to high concentrations of salt. Meanwhile, mix the other ingredients together to form a paste. This paste helps to give the kimchi flavor and the desired red color. The added sugar is able to balance out the flavors of the kimchi with a slight sweetness, but it actually has a bigger role than that. The sugar acts as an easy energy source for the lactic acid bacteria. In other words, the sugar helps to kickstart the fermentation process. After the cabbage has been soaked for 3 hours, rinse the cabbage with clean water in order to reduce the saltiness of the cabbage. Leave it aside to dry for a short moment. Next, it's time to mix the cabbage with the chili paste. It is recommended to use hands instead of spoons for this, as it helps to mix the cabbage more evenly. Grab a clean glass mason jar and start filling it with the cabbage. The cabbage should be pressed midway in order to maximize the space in the jar and also to remove any air bubbles in the jar. Close the jar and leave it to ferment for 2 days. The lactic acid bacteria in the cabbage are anaerobic, so the jar shouldn't be opened until the fermentation is complete. If the jar is repeatedly opened and closed, air is able to enter the jar and it would be more difficult for the lactic acid bacteria to ferment the cabbage. The oxygen might even support growth of other unwanted microbes. After 2 days, the fermentation is complete and the kimchi can be consumed. But let's go further. One of the typical drawbacks of kimchi is that over a prolonged storage time, the lactic acid bacteria continues to ferment the kimchi and will produce off flavors and alter the taste, texture, and appearance of the kimchi. In order to counter this, we decided to use the home canning process.
The fermented kimchi is put in the microwave for 1 minute and 30 seconds. This will cause the liquid inside the jar to boil and generate steam, which will push out any air inside the jar. The jar is then quickly closed to prevent air from going in. The jar is treated to boiling water for 30 minutes. The boiling water is able to kill the lactic acid bacteria, stopping any further fermentations. After heat treatments, the kimchi is taken out and left to cool. The steam inside the jar cools and turns the water, and this creates a vacuum condition in the jar, preventing the growth of aerobic spoilage microbes. Usually, the canning process involves a pressure cooker in order to achieve a high sterilization temperature to destroy spores, especially Clostridium botulinum, a typical bacteria that usually related to insufficient canning. However, the higher sterilization temperature is not needed as the pH of the kimchi is below 4.5, which does not support growth of Clostridium botulinum. Finally, the canned kimchi is complete and is able to have the prolonged shelf-life without the after effect of the continuous fermentation. Kimchi is a simple food that has many hurdles that helps extend its shelf-life. The salt kills pathogenic microbes but not the lactic acid bacteria. The fermentation process is able to create a low pH environment. The growth of lactic acid bacteria also prevents growth of the microbes due to competition. In the canning process, we add a few more hurdles. Heat treatment to destroy the remaining lactic acid bacteria and stopping the fermentation process. And the vacuum condition of the jar prevents growth of aerobic spoilage microbes.